Hello everyone, Jeff here. You are looking at my 2020 VMAX, and you may be asking yourself, why would anyone buy a 2020 VMAX? Hey everyone, earlier this year the motorcycle bug bit me and I wanted to get back to riding again after having several years of not riding and not owning a motorcycle. So I started looking around, trying to figure out what it was I wanted to purchase. But that's not easy because I'm kind of picky when it comes to what I'm looking for in a motorcycle. And really the first thing that disqualifies a motorcycle, or should I say the first thing that I look for at a motorcycle, is whether or not it has a shaft drive, because I've been spoiled to shaft drive since 1984 when I purchased my first street bike. I will start this story by explaining my first couple of motorcycles and how I ended up buying the VMAX this year, just a few months ago. In 1984 I purchased my first street bike, and it was a 1984 Honda Nighthawk 650. And that motorcycle, for a 650, was considered the world's quickest 650 at that time, and I can vouch for that. It was pretty snappy for a 650. It would outrun other bikes in larger classes. But anyway, there were some things about that motorcycle that I really liked, and first was the shaft drive. Now I know a lot of people don't like the shaft drive because they talk about the jacking effect, and it was noticeable. So the rear bike raises up when you accelerate rather than the other way around. If you're used to a chain, it tends to sink down. And also this Nighthawk 650 had a lot of features that made it one of the most maintenance-free motorcycles of its time, such as solid-state ignition, automatic cam tensioners, hydraulic clutch. All of those things kind of spoiled me to where I looked for those in my next motorcycle. And in fact, when I bought the Nighthawk 650, I had already had in my sights what my next motorcycle was going to be, and that was going to be the Honda V65 Magna. And when that motorcycle came out in 1983, it was the world's fastest production motorcycle. And it held that title for a couple of years until 1985, when Yamaha came out with the VMAX. And during that time, there were a lot of manufacturers making motorcycles with V4 engines, and of course the V65 Magna was one of those. And in fact, Honda had a whole bunch of V4s across several different motorcycles. But anyway, Yamaha's answer was the VMAX, and when that VMAX first came out in '85, it was faster than the V65 Magna, so it became the fastest, at least power cruiser. I don't know if at that time it was the fastest production motorcycle, but it was definitely the fastest cruiser, knocking the Magna off its throne. But when I went to go buy my V65 Magna, it really wasn't until 1988 that I was ready to buy another motorcycle. And unfortunately, Honda had redesigned the Magna in 1987, and they made it look more like a Harley, and I didn't care for the new look. So I really wanted the first generation V65. I was fortunate enough to find a dealer that had a leftover 1986 brand new, and that was in San Antonio. So I purchased that motorcycle, and of course it had a shaft drive as well. And I had that motorcycle for 26 years. The last 11 or 12 years was in the Chicago area. And unfortunately, Chicago is not very conducive to riding a motorcycle. It's a very short season, lots of snow that can linger around until May and can come as early as October. But anyway, so I didn't ride much the time that I lived in Chicago, and so the bike was neglected, had some maintenance issues that needed taken care of. The carburetors needed rebuilt, and that happened often enough because unfortunately I wasn't good at preparing the bike for long storage, and with the fuel now having ethanol, because our government requires us to put corn in our gasoline, which attracts moisture at a higher rate than regular gasoline, the carburetors get gummed up much sooner than they did when they were designed back in the 80s, because the fuel was different. But anyway, I did not feel like spending the time and the money to put into the motorcycle, and I really didn't think I would ever ride again. I wasn't sure if I'd ever ride again. So I looked around at what was available at the time, what motorcycles were there, and I liked the new generation VMAX, and I also liked the Honda ST 1300. And I thought, okay, if I do ride again, I could probably settle for one of those two bikes, because now they have fuel injection, don't have to deal with the carburetor issues. So I ended up getting rid of the Magna several years ago, and only recently, like I said earlier this spring, the bug bit me, because the past 2 years I've been living in Alabama, so I can ride here practically year-round. So when the bug bit me and I started researching, then I started off with the shaft drive. And for those of you that know the motorcycles and what's available today, the shaft drives really are not that common. They are among BMWs, and I looked at some BMWs, but they just didn't seem to fit me very well. So it came down to really three bikes: the Yamaha FJR 1300, the Yamaha VMAX, and the Honda Goldwing. The VMAX fit me better than the FJR, so I ruled it out. So it came down to the VMAX and the Goldwing, and I had decided that eventually I would like to own both. But I was a little concerned that the VMAX may not be around for much longer, because finding one is very difficult. Not very many dealers carry them, they don't sell many, and those that do carry them, they tend to just sit there for a long time. I was very concerned that the VMAX is no longer going to be in production. I know it's not available in other countries around the world. I don't know how many countries it is available, but I am concerned that they're going to stop production, just because it seems like that nobody wants them. And it is a very unique motorcycle. Hey, I'll take a little bit of a time out and just do a little walk around. Although this video will not be a review, I will do a total review of it at some other point, but just a quick walk around to just let you know some of the things about the looks of the VMAX that appeals to me, that again I find is very unique. Just looking at it head on, you can see those air intakes that to me look like a jet aircraft. Again, there's not much else out there that would look anything like this coming at you. And of course, part of the appeal is right there, that V4 engine. Those are rare today. They weren't quite so rare back in the 80s when they first came out, but they're pretty hard to find. I know Ducatis and Aprilias have V4s, but not in a cruiser type motorcycle. And to me, nothing beats the sound of a V4. It clearly sounds different than anything else. Another thing that I really like about the looks of this motorcycle is the exhaust. I like that look of having four pipes coming right out, right back at you. So that's an interesting look and rather unique as well. There's really, in my opinion, nothing else out there that looks anything like it. It's kind of in a class all by itself as far as being a power cruiser. So to me, that's part of the appeal, is that it's very unique, and I've yet to see another one on the road. But anyway, so that's one reason why I wanted to get the VMAX. Like I said, I was very concerned that it would no longer be available. I feel like the Goldwing will always be available. I can get that at any time when I'm ready, which will probably be a little bit over a year from now. Once I decided on the VMAX, I mean, to some degree that was the toughest part, is narrowing it down and deciding on the bike. But the next challenge really became finding one and being able to purchase it. That has its own challenges, or I should say it had its own challenges as far as being able to find one and purchase that. And I will explain all of that in another video. So I will have another motovlog on my experience in purchasing the motorcycle. See you next time.